My name is Assimwee Edith. This is not just my story, it is the geography of my soul, a map of scars that now lead to hope. Before the darkness, there was a small, flickering light. My father. We were not rich. We were not even comfortable. We had no land that stretched to the horizon, golden with crops. We had a small patch of earth, just big enough for our grass-thatched house to huddle on, as if for protection against a world that was already too big. But my father, he had a laugh that started deep in his belly and could make the small patch of earth feel like a kingdom. His hands, calloused and strong from digging for others, would come home smelling of soil and sweat, and he would lift me into the air, his rough cheeks against mine. And in those moments, I was not a poor girl. I was a princess. The world was infinite. My mother was pregnant, and our family of 6 was a tight, beating heart. We had little, but we had each other, and in the simplicity of our life, there was a kind of peace that I thought would last forever. Then the shadow came. It started as a cough, a dry, persistent hack that my father tried to hide behind his hand. But it grew. It became a wet, ragged sound that stole his breath and his strength. The name they whispered was cancer, a word that felt like a stone in my throat, foreign and sharp. The small clinic became a place of despair. They spoke of treatments in a faraway city, of costs that had more zeros than I had ever seen. We went to our neighbors, to our relatives, to anyone who would listen. "Please," my mother would beg, her voice cracking. "He is a good man. Help us." But we had nothing to offer in return but gratitude, and gratitude does not pay for medicine. I watched him waste away. The strong man who could lift me became a skeleton under a thin blanket. His laugh was replaced by a pained moan. The light in his eyes, the light of my kingdom, began to dim. I would sit by his bed and hold his hand, and it felt like holding a bird's wing, fragile and trembling. The kingdom we had built on our small patch of earth was crumbling, and there was nothing I could do. In 2021, the shadow consumed him entirely. He died because we were poor. He died because we had no money. That truth is a splinter in my heart, a piece of sharp reality that will always be there. When he died, the sun went out of our sky. My mother, 5 months pregnant, was left with 5 children and a hollow space in her soul. We had no land to grow food, so we became beggars of labor. We dug in other people's gardens, our small hands blistered and raw, under a sun that showed no mercy. At the end of the day, we would be given a small portion of what we had helped to grow. It was not enough. The hunger became a constant, gnawing companion, a beast in my belly that roared for food. With no money for school fees, the world of learning closed its door to me. I would watch other children walk past our house in their crisp uniforms, their laughter a cruel reminder of a life I could no longer have. I was now a digger, a laborer. My childhood was over. Then came the cruelest blow of all. My mother went into labor. There was no clinic, no help. There was only us, her children, huddled in our small hut, listening to her cries of pain. And when the silence came, it was not the silence of a newborn's first breath. It was the silence of death. My sibling, the child who was supposed to bring a new light into our darkness, was gone. We, the children, had to dig a small hole in the hard earth and bury our own brother or sister ourselves. I don't remember the funeral. I only remember the small, wrapped bundle and the feeling of the cold, unforgiving dirt on my hands. I remember my mother's silence. She did not cry. She did not scream. She just stared at the wall, and in that moment, I felt something inside me break. Hope was a luxury we could no longer afford. We were adrift in an ocean of sorrow, and then the storm came. One night, as we lay huddled together on the floor, we heard shouting. The door to our grass-thatched house was kicked open. Robbers! They weren't looking for much. We had nothing, but they took what little we had. And then, as a final act of cruelty, they set our home on fire. I remember the heat, a terrifying wave that made the air impossible to breathe. I remember the horrifying crackle of the dry grass catching flame, the sound of our memories turning to ash. I remember grabbing my younger siblings, pulling them out into the night, the smoke stinging our eyes, choking our lungs. We stood and watched as the last physical remnant of our father, the only home we had ever known, was consumed by fire. We were left with nothing but the clothes on our backs. We were naked before the world. We walked. We didn't know where else to go. We walked to our grandmother's house miles away, barefooted. I can still feel every sharp stone, every thorny branch that pierced my feet. Each step was a prayer of pain. We arrived at her door not as visitors, but as refugees, as Muslims. I can still feel every sharp stone, every thorny branch that pierced my feet. Each step was a prayer of pain. We arrived at her door not as visitors, but as refugees, as burdens. My mother had lost everything: her husband, her child, her home, her hope. She would sit for hours, staring into the distance, her eyes empty. She had unbraided her hair, and it became a matted, tangled crown of grief. She had no hopes for us to go back to school. How could she? She couldn't even feed us. We were living on the charity of a grandmother who had little to give. This was my life. This was my future. A barefoot girl with no education, no family, and no hope. And then one day a miracle came to our door. Her name is Madame Josephine Nakakanda. She was an old family friend, and she had come to visit. She saw us, she saw our bare feet, our tattered clothes, the haunted look in our eyes. She sat with my grandmother, and my grandmother, with tears streaming down her face, narrated the whole tragic story. She told her of the cancer, the fire, the baby, the despair. I watched Madame Josephine's face as she listened. I saw her own eyes fill with tears. She didn't look at us with pity. She looked at us with a profound, heartbreaking sadness, and then, with a flicker of something else. A resolve. She saw not the broken girl in front of her, but the girl I could be. She saw the princess my father once saw. She was sad for all we had passed through, and in that sadness, she made a decision that would save my life. She decided to start supporting me. It is a pleasure to have today my dearest and caring friend and supporter, because you are a part of that decision. You are the answer to a prayer I didn't even know how to pray. Eco-Agric started helping me when I was in primary 6, a girl who had forgotten what a classroom looked like. Now I am in senior 3. For years of being able to hold a book again. For years of learning, of growing, of feeling my mind awaken from a long sleep. But you have given me so much more than an education. On top of my school fees, Eco-Agric has enabled me to acquire skills that are the foundation of my new life. You have taught me how to bake, and the smell of bread in the oven is the smell of independence. You have taught me how to make soap and jelly and candles, turning simple ingredients into things of beauty and use. You have taught me how to grow vegetables, to nurture life from the soil, just as my father once did. And you have taught me mushroom growing, showing me how to find sustenance and strength in the darkness. These skills are not just hobbies. They are my armor. They are the tools that will ensure I never again have to watch my family suffer. They may help me in my daily life, but I want to use them to do more. And so I come to you today, not as a victim, but as a survivor. I come to you with a heart full of gratitude and a mind full of dreams. I also request you to continue supporting us. We have a dream, a collective dream of the girls who have been saved. We are asking for your help in buying for us tailoring machines. Imagine it. With a sewing machine, we can take the torn, tattered fabric of our lives and stitch it into something new. We can turn simple cloth into uniforms for children who have none, so they don't have to feel the shame we felt. We can create beautiful garments to sell, to earn money, to support our families, to pay for our own school supplies. We can teach other girls this skill, creating a ripple effect of empowerment that will spread through our community. A tailoring machine is not just a machine. It is a tool of creation. It is a weapon against poverty. It is a promise that we can take the threads of our broken lives and weave them into something strong, something beautiful, something new. You saved me. You pulled me from the fire and from the despair. You gave me back my future. Now, I am asking you to help me give that future to others. Please help us get these tailoring machines. Help us turn our skills into a sustainable life. Help us become the saviors we were raised to be. Thank you so much for always supporting us. Thank you for being the light that found us in the darkness. We really appreciate you, our dear, lovely friend and supporter.